Hey, Women of Purpose. I wanted to jump on real quick. I had something I want to share with you guys. The kids are in the living room destroying it. I am trying to catch up from the week long of neglecting the house. But I just had something hit my spirit and I wanted to share with you guys. I titled this or labeled this video a little bit less. So y'all may not like or appreciate this video in about 3 minutes. But I hope for the sake of your relationship with Christ, I hope for the sake of ministry that you'll just bear with me and that you'll be able to hear and receive. I want to talk out of the book of Titus for just a minute, starting in chapter 2, and I'm going to just start at 1. And I'm probably going to, I don't know if I'm going to go all the way down to 9 or if I will, or all the way down to 10, or if I'll stop on the main points, which is basically verses 3, 4, and 5. But as for you, speak the things which are proper for sound doctrine, that the older men be sober, temperate, sound in faith, in love, and patience. The older women likewise, that they be reverent in behavior, not slandering, not given much wine, teachers of good things. That they abolish the young women to love their husbands and to love their children, to be discreet, chastened, homemakers, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be blasphemed. Likewise, exhort the young men to be sober-minded, in all things showing yourself to be a pattern of good works and doctrine, showing integrity, reverence, incorruptibility, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that one who is may be ashamed, having nothing evil to say of you. And I'm going to stop. So as I was in here picking up, I've warned and threatened the kids that I will not put no Christmas tree up until they help me keep the mess up. So they're halfways trying, halfways forget. So as I keep going over the same old messes, I just started thinking of a phrase I have myself have said, which is, you have the kids, go sit down, or it's too hard with the kids, they're your first ministry, you need to go and tend to them. And I have to say, I agree, but also politely disagree. The problem with sitting down continually is, in doing so, you are fully forsaken the call on your life. Girls, I have to encourage you, and I have to say this. If it comes down to ministry in your home, do it with the baby on your hip. Stop neglecting the things of God by saying, because I'm a mom or because I'm a wife, I can't do it. You are capable of handling both things that God has called you to. The thing about, we say that our home is our first ministry, and that's absolutely right. We cannot neglect our home. We cannot get to the point where we are all about ministry and not ministering to our home. But what I felt like the Spirit of the Lord just spoke very plainly to me just a moment ago was, when we declare that our first ministry is our home, that means that every word we speak, every lesson we teach, every single thing we apply outside the home should already be taught by action within our homes. If we are not training up our children by deed and action, then we have already neglected our first ministry. If we are not making God a priority in ministry, something that needs to be next to our heartbeat, we've already neglected our first ministry and our children. If we are not prioritizing God and His call on our life as individuals and our life as a family, we have already missed the mark. In Titus, it was saying that none of us are called to ever sit down. It even talks about the old men and the old women. Their jobs did not go away just because they hit a certain age or because the young ones rose up and are able to handle it. It simply said from then they transitioned to now that they take the youngers under their wings and they begin to train them up. Women of purpose, you are never called to sit down. You are never called to neglect the things of God just because you're a mother and just because you're a wife. Do it with the baby on your hip. You know, my mother-in-law has this saying to where I'm using it a little different, but I'm going to bring it back to God, that if it comes down to riding out with your husband to check on a job or riding with them to the store and there's dishes in the sink, leave the dishes and go with your husband, because if not, another woman will. I have to use that in the flip side with God. If it comes down to not going to church on Wednesday night or Sunday night because you have dishes in the sink from supper, leave the dishes, because the dishes will wait for you. A soul that you're called to minister to may not. If it comes down to picking and choosing the little things, remember the most important thing. That's why they got dishwashers these days. Maybe you need to save up the money and buy a dishwasher so it saves you that extra half hour. You know, if it comes down to not making it to church because you can't get everybody dressed and up and done enough, maybe you need to skip out on the makeup because the makeup's irrelevant. You don't have to go to church with makeup on. You can go without. Get you some extensions. That way you're always a little bit halfway presentable. Buy some glue-on strips if that makes you feel better. But if it comes down to making church or missing church because of makeup and because you can't curl your daughter's hair, because you can't spike your son's hair, buy a hat. Make God the priority. It says, train up a child in the way they should go. When they are old, they will not depart from it. If you keep making God a priority, if you keep making church a priority, if you keep making a ministry a priority, so will they. They will lead. They will follow by example. So everything that you have taught and trained them, they will begin to apply in your life. You know, if you stop prioritizing church because you got to cook supper, because you got to clean the mess, or because you got to dress the kids, then when they're older, they will not prioritize church either. So if you start saying that, you know what, I can skip out on the makeup just to be in the presence of the Lord, so will they. They will know that being dressed up for church isn't that important. Is it nice? Yes. But is it important? No. If you show them that if it comes down to doing a dish or getting out and ministering, they'll know that they can let the housework go, that it will wait for them. But if you don't, if you continue to say, I need to piddle paddle in the house, I need to dress this up first, and that's exactly what they will do. That every generation will get a little bit less, a little bit less, and a little bit less. So if it comes down to doing ministry work or doing it with the baby on your hip, put the baby, buy the baby wear things if you got to. Strap them to you. If it comes down to, like I said, get some extensions on so that you're always a little bit presentable, if that makes you feel better. But you have got to prioritize church. You have got to prioritize ministry. Maybe the prayer was a baby, or maybe the prayer was a husband, and you were on fire for the Lord and you were seeking him, and then you got it. Just because you got that husband or just because you got that child does not mean it's over. You're supposed to still be digging in and pushing in. You're still supposed to be doing the same exact things you were doing then, continuing on just because you got it. But just this time you're doing it with another face in the video with you. Another face alongside you as you minister. Another face alongside you when you go to church. So it says, like when you're old, so maybe you're older now, you've done raise your children, they all have their own lives. Maybe like, you know what, I'm done with children's ministry. I'm done with putting out. I'm done doing this and I'm done doing that. Titus clearly states, the older women likewise to be reverent. So don't forget your behavior. I want to skip down. Be teachers of good things. You are called always to be a teacher of good things. Don't forget that you are called to be a teacher. You're called to, verse 4, to abolish the young women to their husbands. So train them in the way they're supposed to be married. Train them in the way they're supposed to mother. Train them in the way they're supposed to act. You see them getting out of line, don't be afraid to tell them. Say, young lady, I've been here. I know what it is. This will destroy your marriage. The reason we have so many ministries and so many marriages and so many mothers falling apart and being destroyed is because no one is there to stop them, to say, hey, stop, because of offense, because you're afraid of telling someone the wrong things. You're afraid of just saying they're going to come back at you with your own sins. But you are commissioned to be a teacher of good things. Be a teacher of good things, older women. Young ladies, be obedient. Be receivers. Don't ever be too proud. Don't ever be too hard to be a receiver, because if you continually be a receiver of God, a receiver of his correction, a receiver of his chastisement, a receiver, then you are a loved woman of God and you will continually grow in all the right things. And God always has your best in hand. So if he's sending someone to tell you, you shouldn't act like that. You shouldn't talk to your husband like that. You should kind of keep your hands to yourself. You spare the rod, yes, but you're taking it too far with your children. You know, you need to start ministering again. The babies, you've had your 3 months recovery. It's time to get back up again. Find your groove, find your pattern. The reason why it's so hard for us to find our patterns after we have a baby or maybe another one, or we just get married, is because we sat down too long. The longer you sit, the more you're going to lose where you were. You will lose your position. You will lose your drive. You will lose the very things that was pushing you. So I just want to encourage you. Receive this word. I know it's hard. No one wants to hear that. Well, I had to stop because it was getting too much on me, or it was taking too much. My mind has started falling apart, and I was getting emotional. I was getting overwhelmed. Okay, then maybe it's because you got out of his presence. Maybe it's because you become the mother, become the wife, had the more children, done the other things, but maybe you kept doing the work, but you got out of his presence. I have done that more than once, and I know that. I can say that for a fact to you, that when you start getting overwhelmed and you start getting pressured by ministry, it's because you're doing the work outside of the relationship of him. So don't do that. Be careful. Be vigilant of these things. Watch out for them. Yes, cook meals for your home. Yes, keep your home, your kids' bath and your house clean. But if it comes down to choosing God or choosing that, believe me, the house will stay. Even the Lord, when the children of Israel, when they were commanded, when they were for the Sabbath, when they're in the wilderness, they weren't allowed to cook. They weren't allowed to clean. So there is a time appropriate to leave the cleaning and leave the cooking alone. There's a time appropriate when it says, okay, with all else, I'm going to choose God today. I'm going to choose church today. I'm going to choose ministry today. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I hope that kickstarts somebody in the rear end today. That's not to be harsh on you. That's just to say I love you, and I want to see more young women ministering again. I want to see more young women doing it with the babies on their hips. I want to see more people choosing to push through with the very things they prayed and asked for. All right, ladies. I think we have a live going on later from Mary for a testimony, and I will be on tomorrow for our Women Who Warfare series.